Let's just do this one last time, okay? He wanted to make one last response. First, he messages me on Reddit, of all things, and then blocks me. So let's just do this. And no, I'm not going to acknowledge the first part of the video, only because it's just him going in loops about how he's not racist for using a racist dog whistle. And, like, I talked about it for, like 2 entire videos about how he's clearly still in the wrong for doing that. First thing he says is that I have a god complex, especially and he uses this as an example. And for the example, yeah, I said that they didn't debunk me because they didn't. If I say that, yeah, these people didn't debunk me because they didn't have any evidence, that isn't the same thing as me saying that I am a fact and nothing I say is infallible. I don't think you need me to tell you that having the burden of proof is pretty much a necessity if you're going to make a claim. Me stating that none of them actually abided by their burden of proof, therefore they didn't debunk me, is not me having a god complex. It's me using basic information about them not having evidence for their claims. Therefore, their claim is baseless. Also, stating that someone hasn't debunked you and stating that your statement is an absolute fact are 2 different things. One hasn't been unproven yet, and the other one is stating to be unprovable. There's a very big difference. Also, he tries to say that Untransformed Decade isn't stronger than Legend, even though we literally see that it is Untransformed Decade who is the one who is able to damage opponents that are superior to Legend. Which is also pretty funny because he tries saying that a director's statement is just them speaking in character for Legend, as if what the director's stating is not an objective fact. A director is generally considered to have definitive authority over the thing that they are stating. You cannot just say that, oh, well, what if he's just talking in character? You would have to prove that he's doing that. In stating that Kamen Rider Legend would say something like that wouldn't inherently mean that the director stating it would also mean that he's just acting in character for Legend. It would just mean that Legend would also say something like that. You cannot just conflate the 2 ideas and then say that that's how it is. Also, his Ohma points are very, very mishandled. What boy. Let's go over some of them. First off, he tries stating that the power of Ohma Zio wasn't fully within the Ohma Ride Watch. He's still on this, by the way. He tries saying that the word embody doesn't mean that it's 100% of the power, so let's look at some of the other Ride Watch descriptions. Ride Watches contain rider power, and rider power is the fundamental part of a rider's existence. If it embodies the rider power of Ohma Zio, it literally embodies Ohma's existence. You cannot just say that it is a proportional amount of it without any actual proof. And generally speaking, it recreates the power of the rider. It doesn't just like erase someone just because he's using the ride watch of them. Like when he made his original video and he tried saying that Ohma Zio should have been erased if he was using 100% of his power, which is untrue. Also, I find it really funny how he uses this as evidence because I never said that Ohma didn't lose any power. I just said that Ohma doesn't have any like statements that he has a percentile of his power loss. Kamen Rider Decade has statements of exact percentiles, like 50% of his power. And also, he tries using the fact that there's 2 Ohmas and both of them are in by the real world in that very moment as proof that Ohma Zio and Ohma Form Zio are superior to another Ohma. That's a lot of Ohmas in one sentence, but you get the idea. But yeah, Ohma Zio was definitely losing to base Barlix. The only thing that kept him alive, which he states himself, was the real world. This is why you're blatantly leaving out the context that comes prior to that. But for the most part, most of this video is just him saying that I have a god complex, just for saying that he's blatantly just misrepresenting my points. Even though I quite literally already explained exactly why it's not a god complex. Keep in mind, one of his points for why I have a god complex is that I say that this whole entire argument is already over, and that we've already went over all the points, and it's very clear that I've come out on top each time. Meanwhile, he's actively doing the exact same thing in his own caption, so I'm confused on why he even made that point if he was going to do the exact same thing. He says that I can't critique Reddit for having an insane obsession with Ohma Zio and blatantly not addressing any of my actual points. But he also says that anyone who agrees with me is meat munching, which is really funny. I just find that he's a very big hypocrite when it comes to these things. He says I'm obsessed with him, even though he's commented underneath every single video I've had related to Ohma ever since I really started talking about Ohma Zio. He's saying that I'm a snowflake and that I'm harassing him just for calling out the fact that he's literally harassing other creators by insulting their intelligence and demeaning them inside of an uncomfortable and unwanted way. I guess. He says that I somehow managed to magically hide some of his comments, even though you can't even individually hide comments. If a comment was hidden, you would have to hide the entire thread, and you can't even manually do it. TikTok automatically does it, and you can tell that his comment is still there. So he just completely made up that point, and then later on, he was just saying that maybe he just didn't see it. Buddy, you can't backtrack like that. And also, he was trying to show that I use my platform to win the debate about Ohma, when I literally made the video talking about how he was being blatantly racist. And I guess that's where he really stands on that. And also, he doesn't feel apologetic about it. He said it multiple times because he literally found my thing on Reddit and just started commenting a bunch. Eventually he blocked me, but he literally was talking about how he doesn't feel apologetic for it. So like, what more is there to talk about? You said something racist, you felt called out, and you don't feel sorry about it. Clearly, he has no willingness to actually change, and he's just too stubborn to realize that, yes, saying racist terms on the internet will get you called out. And the very fact that I called him out made him very butthurt, and then he somehow made this all about Ohma versus Decade, even though I, even in the first one, said this goes far past power scaling when you're just being racist. And clearly he did not learn from that. And now anytime I critique anything he does, he says I have a god complex. Anytime I critique what anyone else does, I have a god complex. When I say that someone is objectively wrong because they didn't actually show any evidence behind their claim, I have a god complex. No matter what I do, I apparently have a god complex. Has there ever been a singular time where I have verbatim said that my point is just definitive fact? Because there's a point in his video where he tries to say that I always say that my thing is absolute truth, and there's never been a point where I've ever presented my arguments as that. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be an argument. They wouldn't be a theory, and they wouldn't be an interpretation, which is usually what I use as the terminology associated with what I'm talking about. It's the entire reason why most of my videos start with positing a question. Like, for example, the video that he's talking about a lot in this was Ohma ever the strongest? If it was a fact that he wasn't the strongest, would I have not started off with Ohma is in fact not the strongest? And also, he got mad at me for making 3 videos, even though the 3 videos that I made prior to this combined are 12 minutes and 35 seconds. His first video alone was 16 minutes. His 2 videos combined is over 30 minutes. As you can see, he makes a lot of bad faith interpretations of everything I do, and he willingly critiques the things I do while actively doing them as well, making him a hypocrite. Or he actively critiques things I didn't do while actively doing them, making him a hypocrite as well. Do what you want with this. I'm most likely gonna block the dude after a while, because he keeps like systematically blocking me and unblocking me. Like he did that on Reddit, like, oh, as I'm saying this right now. It's a whole thing, bruh. Also, one last thing, he says I ducked a voice chat debate, when a voice chat debate being ducked would imply that we already planned to do one, and then I proceeded to avoid it. And I said a lot of times, I just don't want to talk to you over voice chat. I'm sorry, but this dude is just sad, bro. He's a lame. Anyways, bye!